Good morning and good afternoon for those in Dayton. I'm Paige Nix, and wanted to welcome you all here for the Radiance University Leadership Series. Our CEO, Bill Bailey, he talks all the time about leaders and how we need to grow these leaders inside of Radiance. And so that's why these classes are so important, so we can kind of perpetuate our culture and our company. We have had external leaders, great folks from our community come in and talk to us. We've also had internal leaders, and it's my privilege today to get to introduce one of our very own internal leaders, Mr. Tim Tinsley. He has been at Radiance for 16 years, started on as an engineer and has grown up through the ranks here, through the leadership ranks, and as Executive VP over the defense sector. So I am sure that his presentation is going to be unparalleled. So without further ado, Mr. Tinsley.
All right, thank you, Mr. Nix. And guys, that's what you want in your CFO, someone with a steel trap memory, and that's what we have with Paige. So appreciate it, Paige. Again, Tim Tinsley. I am the Executive Vice President for the defense sector. And as Paige mentioned, I've been here since 2004, so very, very proud of my time here, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but kind of a couple caveats up front. Number one is I am not a professional speaker at all, and you'll realize that real soon, and certainly not a motivational speaker. Okay, so if Jamie took your money at the back there, you probably want it, to get it back from her. So. But I asked Jamie, I said, when I was asked to do this, I said, what are my constraints? What are my requirements for doing this? She said, well, 45 minutes or so, talk about something you're good at. And I was thinking to myself, what are we going to do for the other 43? So it's going to take some time. But so in lieu of something I'm good at, I want to talk about something I'm passionate about, maybe know a little bit about, and something that maybe I can help some of the young aspiring leaders in the company. So let's move ahead here. So I didn't really know up till maybe last week what I was going to talk about, right? So I've known I was going to do this for a couple months, but it kind of is a hard thing to really wrap your hands around what to talk about, following all the great leaders we've had that have done this series in the past, right? So I set about studying on what can I bring to the table, what can I add? So from an agenda standpoint, I'm a very simple guy. You'll see some things later that kind of explain some things about me, but so I wanted to make the agenda simple as well. So really just three things that we want to talk about. The first thing is a little bit about me. So a little bit about my journey in my career professionally to get me where I am now. And then some observations, right? So really the output of the studying I was doing to come up with a target audience and a topic for this conversation. And then the last thing is that output, which is the kind of three key principles that I think successful people all have. And we'll dive into that a little bit and unpack some of that later. So first things first, let's talk about the most boring topic first. So we'll talk about me. So I was a little taken aback that we've got a young man over here from my hometown. So any lies I tell about my hometown, he'll be able to call me on it. So I am from a small town in the middle of Alabama. Called Centerville, Alabama. It's about 30 miles south of Tuscaloosa. It's about a 2,000 person town. The big thing when I was going into high school was that we were getting a McDonald's. So that was the big news in town. And I think recently I've heard they're getting a Huddle House. So that's the big news out of small town USA. So, but it was a great place to grow up. I really enjoyed my time there. I was part of the latchkey kid generation. So for those of you guys may not know what that is, it was basically both parents worked, and you had 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon after school that you were left to your own devices, right? So spawned a lot of independent people out of that generation, in my opinion. Maybe some that got in some trouble during that period of time too, but a lot of independence in that generation. So again, both parents worked. My dad owned and operated a machine shop. It's called Cobb Industrial Machine and Supply in Centerville. Real small operation, about no more than 10 people at any given time. And I learned really three things from him growing up. The first thing was a work ethic, right? I mean, he was up, he was gone when I got up in the mornings, worked all day and then, back at dark at night. And that was usually a 6-day-a-week thing. So he worked really, really hard. And then the second thing I learned was that how to treat people, how to take care of those that work with you, work for you. There were many times, certainly early on, that he didn't take a paycheck. And he, just to make sure he made payroll for those families that worked for him, right? And so I learned a lot that I've really carried through my career on how to treat everybody that I work with. And so I owe him a lot, from that perspective. But also learned the third thing, which is he and I have a very similar personality. And we also have a very similar temperament. So it was probably not the best move for me to work for my dad. So I decided to do something a little different, which was to go to college. And I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship to the University of Alabama, pursuing a mechanical engineering degree. And I know many of you out that are here, many of you that are listening probably think that's not really a big deal, and perhaps to you it's not. But understanding, coming from my hometown, where most people did not go to college, right? Most people did not leave the town. Most people did not do that. And certainly in my family, I was the first in the family to graduate from college. So in that sense, I'm very proud of that. And it really launched me out, and it gave me an opportunity after graduating to move to Augusta, Georgia, and go to work for International Paper. Completely different industry than we're in now, right? And the wood products industry is a completely different beast than aerospace and defense. But I was part of a program called the Technical Management and Development Program. So that's a fancy way of saying a 3 to 5 year rotational program that gave you operational experience, technical services experience as well. And at the end of that program, the idea was that you would kind of go whichever path that you liked, you were better at, and that was the plan, right? And I learned a lot during that program. I loved my time there. I got the opportunity to work at 7 or 8 different facilities in about 5 different states. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It was also the first time that I had an opportunity to interface with one of the mean old vice president guys, right? And so upon graduating the program, went to Savannah, Georgia. That's where our division headquarters was located, and met with the VP, and he's like, fantastic job, Tim. You did a great job. Fantastic. Congratulations on graduating. What are your thoughts? And I said, well, I really like the job I'm doing now. It's a regional project engineer, traveling in different facilities, modernizing those facilities, injecting new technologies into those facilities, and working with all the plant managers and all that. I love that. I think that would be great. And he goes, oh, great. Have you been to Arkansas? And I said, well, I have. Yeah, sure. I did a little project out there in Arkansas. And he goes, oh, great. Particular town, particular facility. And he goes, what we want you to go to this place and to be an operation manager. It's our leadership pipeline. This is where our leaders in the division come from. You'll be the youngest op manager there, in the company. And it's a great opportunity. So what are you, that's what we want you to do. Well, I'm thinking, right? So I'm mid-20s. Single, and I'm thinking, and I had been there for about 6 weeks or so, and I said, it's like 45, 50 miles to the nearest girl. I don't, yeah, I didn't tell him that, but I'm thinking to myself, well, this is something, right? It's totally blindsided. So he finishes, and I said, yes, sir. I said, that sounds great. I'll think about it. He goes, think about it. Oh, you must have misunderstood this conversation. I wasn't asking you, okay? I'm telling you that the company needs you to go to Arkansas, and that's where you're going. Get with the HR manager. She's got the paperwork. Congratulations. Good luck. There's the door. So I said, yes, sir. I walked out, and I was like, what just happened there? I totally didn't have a clue. So that, I don't know, roughly 2.5 hour drive from Savannah back to Augusta. Made a few phone calls. And long story short, had an opportunity to move over here to Huntsville. I had an opportunity to either continue with manufacturing or go into aerospace and defense. So I could have went manufacturing. It was an industry I knew well. I grew up in it. I certainly understood it. And it was, and it was fun. I enjoyed it. Or I could go over here to an industry I knew nothing about. I really didn't even know it existed. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know any of the people. But the company had a program called Miniature Kill Vehicle. I didn't even know what the hell that was, but I knew it sounded really, really cool, right? And so obviously I went there, right? So I went to a company called Schaefer Corporation, took a significant pay cut to move, kind of reset my career to go over there. But I really enjoyed my time. Schaefer, mechanical designer, working on some really cool things, some really cool people. And I found out that, about, 16, 18 months later, I found out, some things that can happen in this industry. If, a small company loses a major contract, there's a distinct possibility you may get laid off. And lo and behold, I got laid off, right? And so I'm sitting there at a crossroads. So, I could have very easily picked the phone up and been back in manufacturing, the next day. Or I could really, kind of, put my head down and grind in this aerospace defense world. It was a world that I was just really beginning to understand. I liked it a lot. I was very fascinated by everything that I was learning about it. And so let's take the riskier approach, right? And let's go that way. And that's what I did. Also, just got married. She got laid off too because we worked at the same place, and so no income coming in, 2 house payments. That we haven't consolidated at that point. So it was just right after we got married. So it was a great wedding present for us. Really enjoyed that. But I made some good friends there too. But I had 2 or 3 job opportunities after that, and I chose to go to Booz Allen Hamilton. So I like to tell people that I spent about a minute at Booz. And it really accomplished 2 things for me. And I knew it was real quick, real obvious there. I did not want to work for a large company in this industry. I just didn't want to do it. It didn't fit me very well. But I did get 2 things out of it. I had a couple of lifelong friends that there. One's in the audience now. And so I have that. And also got me to Radiance, right? So that was, through some contacts, and that was a kind of a stepping stone to get me at Radiance. So moving on, started Radiance in 2004. Started at Radiance in 2004, and as a design engineer, which really quickly morphed into becoming a field test engineer. Spend a lot of time on the test ranges, Yuma Proving Ground, White Sands Missile Range, Tonopah, some of these ranges, spending lots and lots of time there. And really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. It was a lot of fun working with a great group of guys. And then from there, transitioned to kind of a technical lead on those programs, and what we called back then a project engineer. And that got me exposed to budgeting, planning, and different aspects of leading technical programs. So I really enjoyed that, and that led to me becoming a portfolio manager. And understand the portfolio is pretty small, right? So 2 or 3 programs on the airborne system side of things. Most everyone in our group at the time was working some ground-based program. And I kind of think sometimes they just, let's get Tinsley out of the main critical path and just give them this stuff over here. And so they did that. But I enjoyed it, had a lot of fun doing that. And I was at another kind of crossroads in my life. And this one, from a professional manner for sure, I'm looking and I said, I really, really like this project management stuff. And I'm also working with a very talented group of design engineers, guys like Ben Bramlett there that that are really, really good at their job. Now, don't get me wrong, I was good, okay? All right, I was good. But they were really good. And I was thinking to myself, like, I'm probably only going to be as good as they are now, and they're going to continue to get better. So it might be in my best interest to find something that I'm passionate about, something that I can, I can excel at. And so I decided to go and get my my master's in engineering management with an emphasis on project management and operations management, and from UAH. While I was doing that, my goal was to wrap that up and graduate before my daughter started kindergarten. I had two babies in the house really when it started that. So it's very difficult. Those of you in some form of school, managing a family, managing a career, know that's a very difficult time, right? And but it was also very rewarding and learned a lot in that process. So shortly thereafter, became an operation manager. So that little portfolio that I had, before, kind of turned into most of the people in the group working in my operation on airborne programs. So I had a lot going on there, a lot of programs, and it was a very exciting time. And you see the little chicken there juggling, because that's what I felt like sometimes, juggling all these different eggs that were going around. And then in 2013, Mr. Bailey became the president, and he gave me the opportunity to become a group manager. And now, what I failed to ask, and certainly what I failed to understand, was what I was really getting into. Right, so I didn't really know that I was inheriting a group that had while they had tremendous capability, they had a dying market. They had customers that were losing funding. Sequestration was really going to hit that area much, much harder than some of the others. I didn't know that. So that first couple of years doing that I probably would not have thanked him during that time frame, right? Because it was a very, very difficult time. But looking back on it, it was really extremely valuable for me to go through that. I learned how to manage lean, and I learned how to be efficient. I learned how to build the right team, and I also learned how to take a core set of capabilities that we had and extend those to new customers and to new markets. And if those of you have done that, you'll know that that is an extremely difficult and time-consuming thing to do. And we did it. So very proud of the core group of guys that that I was working with during that time, and what we were able to accomplish to grow that group, and kind of what it ended up becoming. I was very proud of that. And then obviously last year I had the opportunity to become the sector lead of the defense sector, and so for the past year I've really been trying to define that role, figure how I can best help the organization, and really just copying off Rita's paper. That's doing a lot of cheating off Rita on that. So I appreciate her letting me do that. So that's my story. That's kind of my career up to this point. And you'll see as we walk through some of these other slides that how some of this relates to the message that I'm going to try to convey in a minute. So let's break on that. And get into the studying that I had to do. So I went back and I rewatched all the previous leadership series that we have out there, right? And I highly recommend, if you have not done this, I highly recommend you doing this. Now, it's not the first time I've listened to these people, but I went in with the mindset of, okay, is there anything that anything that maybe they missed, right? Are there any themes that are there? Are there any holes that maybe I can come in and try to... Now, keep in mind, I still, at this point, had no idea what I was going to talk about here, right? And you may still think this guy has no idea what he's talking about. But, so I'm just trying to figure this out, who's going to be my target audience and what is the message going to be. But I really came out with two things out here. One I kind of expected, and then the other was a little unexpected. So to talk about those observations, right? So when you go through those, you can really see that, from their target audience standpoint, they're really, for the most part, they're really targeting those of you that are in some form of leadership right now, right? Whether you're a junior leader in the company, mid-level leader in the company, senior on up, how you can better build teams, how you can better be more efficient. That was really the target audience for most of that conversation. But I went back and said, okay, when I started Radiance, I was 28 years old. And, as a design engineer, and I'm like, what would benefit me? What would really help me out as a 28-year-old Tim coming into Radiance? So I wanted to really focus that on that 28-year-old Tim and those of you that are what I would call the aspiring leaders within Radiance, right? So like it or not, you guys are the next leaders of Radiance, next leaders of other companies in town, your own company. So that I want to really focus on you guys and really kind of drive home the point of what can you do to take control of your career, right? Because at the end of the day, it's your responsibility. It's not my responsibility. It's not Paige's responsibility. It's not Jamie's responsibility. It's your responsibility to define success for you and take control of your career. And we'll talk about a few things that kind of help you along the way of that. So the next thing that came out was that I saw some things with those 5 leaders on chart 4 that they had in common, right? Some traits that they had in common, but they also had in common with guys like Elon Musk and Michael Jordan, depending on what industry you're in. And that kind of brought me to these 3 key things. Now, again, I'm a simple guy, right? So I'm going to lump things into small buckets if I can, but there may be 47 of these things out here. I don't know, but we're going to talk about 3 today. And all 5 of those leaders that had previous series up here, they have these, and others do as well. And the first thing we're going to talk about is a vision, right? And effectively, a vision is, what you want to accomplish. What do you want to do, right? And anyone that knows me knows I'm a big sports guy. I love sports. I love all sports. I think there's a tremendous amount of good you can get from whether it's an individual sport or a team sport. Tremendous amount of things that can relate to your personal life, your professional life. And one of my favorite athletes is Muhammad Ali. And best boxer ever. We can argue, but he's best boxer, right? So Muhammad Ali says that champions are not made in the gym, right? They're made by what's inside them, right? A dream, a vision that they have. Well before they step in the gym and they start working out, they see themselves as a champion, and it's no different than us, right? You can see yourself as a leader, within our organization. So the first thing that all of them have is a vision. So the second is a process. So again, I'm an engineer, right? So I'm going to talk about process, right? So it's those are the steps that you have to take in order to be successful, whatever you choose to do. There are certain steps that you have to do. There is a system that you have in place to be successful. And again, those that know me very well know there's no way in the world that I'm going to put a chart up here with process on it and not put a quote from the best coach ever on here, okay? And so when it comes to process, this guy is like his middle name, right? So Coach Saban says, becoming a champion is not an easy process. It's done by focusing on what it takes to get there and not in getting there and not the result, right? And that's a very important thing too, because it starts getting harder, right? Everybody can come up with what they want to do, right? Then you have to start defining what it takes to get there. And then this last one is the hardest. This is where most things fall apart. It's discipline, okay? And that is the day in, day out, everyday execution of your process, right? It's doing, what you're supposed to do, when you're supposed to do it, how it's supposed to be done. And that's the hardest part. That's why most New Year's resolutions fail, okay? Is because of this. Everybody can come up with a resolution. They can come up with, I'm gonna stop smoking, and but most people fail. Most all of them fail before the end of January, right? So it's because of this one. It is the hardest. So another Saban, okay, and I think there's a bet going on somewhere that how many times I put a quote up by him. But Saban says there are 2 pains in life. Now my wife would probably argue that I'm the 3rd pain in life, but In Saban's perspective, there's two pains in life. There's the pain of discipline and the pain of disappointment. And if you can handle that pain of discipline, you very rarely will see the pain of disappointment, right? And that's a true statement. I mean, a lot to unpack in that short little comment, but it's true. And all because that's the hardest part of all of it. All right, so these next charts are kind of just, again, further unpacking some of this on the what and the how of each one of these. So from a vision perspective, okay, reminder, what is a vision, right? Is that just a fancy way of saying a goal, right? Well, they're a little different in my opinion, okay? A goal really is your individual accomplishments that you kind of have along the way, whether it's getting a degree, getting a certification, acquiring a skill. You know, those are goals, okay? And then those feed into your vision. And your vision is really a bigger picture view of it. It's that proverbial, you know, what do you want to do when you grow up? That's it. And if done right, it's really your why. It's why you get out of bed early in the morning. It's why you come to Radiance and work. It's the why, right? Why do you work weekends for proposals? Why do you work late at night on, to take care of a customer action? That's the why. And again, if done correctly, your vision really lays out the framework for you to assess your goals, to determine whether or not those goals are in line with your vision and how effective they are along the way. So, all right, so that's kind of my definition of vision versus goals, okay? Now let's talk about how do you determine what your vision is, okay? Well, now most of you guys probably saying, oh, here's Tim again, getting all touchy-feely like I'm prone to do. But no, it is going to require you to kind of dig in a little bit and ask yourself some really tough questions on what really matters to you. It's a highly personal thing here, okay? What matters to you. And I get it. You may be sitting there, you're 25 years old and say, well, I don't know what I want to do when I'm 35, 45, 55. I don't know. You're right. Exactly right. It's okay. It's not going to be perfect. You know, we talked about my journey a little bit. Everybody has a story, right? But it won't be perfect. Take a snapshot in time of where you are at that point in time, what your circumstances are at that point in time, and do that. And you really need to make some sort of a list. It could be a mental list or whatever, but some list of things and priorities that are important to you. And I see some things popping up on the screen there, and I think it would be, if we had more time, I think it would be interesting to see if we handed out, pencil and paper and said, okay, everybody rank these from 1 to 8. And, and from the most important to you to the least important. I think it would be really, we got a lot of people here, so you may get a duplicate, but most likely it would be all over the map. Everybody will have a unique list for sure. I think it would be interesting to see because it may be banded, right? You may see some bands and people that are in different parts of their career, may have a little more similarity than others. But again, a very highly personal thing. And then, very important, review that, right? And I put a little calendar up there because you need to review that in some period of time, not 10 years, not 25 to 35, whatever, but there is some period of time you need to review, are you tracking along your goals, and has my vision changed? I talked to a young lady a couple weeks ago, and I said, what do you want to do? What's your vision? She goes, well, I thought I knew, but it's changing now. That's cool. It happens, right? She got exposed to a lot more things. She got exposed to new experiences for her, and so that added to her. So she has a different perspective. So and that happens, and that's fine. And the last piece here is, in order to do this process, you need to develop a system for it and lay that process out, right? So I'm going to break here, and I'm going to go through I'm going to kind of come up with an example that'll we'll talk about throughout the charts. But let's say that my vision for myself is to become the most physically fit that I can, right? I want to be the most in the best shape that I can be. Okay, that's my vision. So what are some goals associated with that vision? Right? Okay, I want go to the gym. All right, I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna join the gym. I'm going to lose 10 pounds. I'm going to lower my cholesterol, get my blood pressure under control. So those are goals, right? And I think it's important you see those goals there help you obtain that vision, right? But now you need a process to do that. And reminder on a process, defined set of steps that's required to do that. So you have to ask more questions of yourself, okay? A couple examples of questions here. What sacrifices are you going to have to make? Because you're going to have to make some, okay? You know, when I started getting my master's, and many of you are doing the same thing while you're working, that's a sacrifice. You're going to have to give something up. You know, what skills are you going to have to build along the way? Are there things that you're going to have to become more proficient at? And then the last one is probably the most important piece here is what obstacles are you going to have to overcome? Because you will have to overcome obstacles. As it's not an if, it's a when. You know, whether it's a personal, whether it's a professional, there will be things that will set you back, that will try to get you derailed, and it's going to happen, okay? And they're hard to predict, but you need to run the whole if-then scenario, right? If this happens, then I'm going to do this. You know, if I get laid off from Schaefer, then I could have went to manufacturing, or I'm going to continue on this path. So there are if-thens that you have throughout. All right, so let's break there and go back to our example of I'm going to be the best I can be, right? Best shape I can be. I'm going to lose 10 pounds, lower my cholesterol, so on. Let's associate that with here. So what is my process to do that? Okay, my process may be I'm going to get up at 4 a.m. in the morning, be in the gym at 5, and work out for an hour, hour and a half, then I'm going to shower, shave, go to work, so on. That's part of my process. Well, what am I going to have to sacrifice to do that? Yeah, sleep, right? You have to sacrifice some sleep. Or go to bed earlier, then you have to sacrifice whether some downtime, watching TV, time with your family, whatever. There is a sacrifice you have to make on that, right? Let's talk about skills. Well, if I'm joining the gym and I'm going every morning, I've got to learn how to use the equipment, right? I've got to learn the different exercises. I've got yoga poses, whatever. I've got to learn these skills, right? And let's talk about obstacles, right? Oh, I just pulled a hamstring. Okay, so I'm hurting. I can't. Should I just not go to the gym anymore, all right? Or should I continue going to the gym and just modify my behavior, right? Modify my process. Okay, now I can't do legs because I'm hurt. Maybe I do core. Maybe I do upper body. Maybe I stretch. But I'm still going to the gym. I'm just modifying it. I'm tailoring my approach. So that's just some. Again, it could be 47 of these questions. I don't know, but those are kind of some of the things you need to kind of ask yourself along the way. All right, now it's been 7 or 8 minutes since I talked about sports. So let's get back to sports. So anyone that's ever been involved with that know that there is no I in team. I think I had a coach in high school that probably had that tattooed on his back, right? And he yelled it so many times, sometimes at me, but he yelled a lot at me. I don't know, but he yelled a lot. And so I have some, many years since then. So if I could go back now and talk to him, I would probably tell him, Coach, you're right. There is no I in team, but there is. I probably wouldn't say it to his face though. He wasn't one of those kind of guys you talk about that. So I probably yell it across the room or something. But there is an I in win, right? And that I really stands for individual, because there's no team, no organization that can excel without the individuals doing what it takes to get the job done. And I like to use baseball in this analogy, right? So baseball to me is an individual sport inside of a team environment, right? And because every position on the baseball field is you, right? Yeah. If you're a pitcher, you're sitting there, you may have a defense behind you, but that second baseman is not helping you find the strike zone. He's not helping you control your curveball. And conversely, if you're a batter in the batter's box, you're facing that pitcher. Your buddy on the bench over there is not helping you catch up to that fastball. He's not helping you find that curveball. No, you're the one putting the work into it. You're the one spending hours and hours and hours in a batting cage, getting better, building skill, and getting better at that, not your buddy. So it really does come down to you guys as individuals to help our organization and our teams excel. And now, I'm not going to put another Saban thing up, okay? So I decided here I'm going to put the second best coach in football up. The guy's okay too, I think, but so Belichick has this thing that he says, kind of be where your feet are, right? do the best you can do in the job that you currently have, right? Yeah, it's okay to think ahead of where you want to be at some point, right? But you're not going to get there unless you really master the role you have now and the job that you're doing right now. So he says, everyone does what they're supposed to do. We win, right? And the message to the players is to do your job. Really, I mean, what else do you say that? You just do your job. And, we're providing framework and an infrastructure around you to help you succeed. But it really comes down to you wanting to do a good job and you wanting to excel in whatever role you currently have within our organization. All right, so that's process. So you got vision, you got process. Now, I promised you something hard, right? So it's discipline. So a reminder for this is, self-discipline is a choice that you make to consistently do what it takes to meet your goals, to attain your vision, to be successful, right? Two words in that I want to really kind of pull out a little bit. The first is choice, and then the second is consistently. All right? So from a consistency standpoint, it is the absolute most important ingredient in self-discipline and really success in general, is being consistent, being deliberate about things. We can go back to the analogy of, I want to be the best I can be. It's my vision. I'm going to lose 10 pounds, lower my cholesterol. That's my goal. My process, part of my process is going to be, I'm going to, reduce carbs. I'm going to go to the gym, get up at 4, go to the gym at 5. But what if I did that, once every 3 weeks? So do you guys think I would be successful, meeting my goals, attaining my vision? It's better than nothing, right? But I doubt I would be highly successful at doing that, not being consistent. So, but what if I got up 4 or 5 days a week that early and went to the gym? And I did that consistently week in and week out. Do you think that I would be able to, a much higher likelihood of reaching my goals? Absolutely, right? I mean, it's really is just common sense. And so at the end of the day, consistency is the absolute number one ingredient. It is the key to success. Just doing your job every single day, doing it the right way, doing it how it's supposed to be done, when it's supposed to be done. And again, it sounds like a coach talking, but hey, they're successful for a reason too, right? And that's it. But if I had to put a number 2 on this thing, I would say that the second most important attribute is a positive mindset. All right, now I mentioned before that you will have obstacles to overcome. You will have setbacks. It's going to happen. It is not if, but when. And again, personal or professional, you'll have something that will attempt to derail you from where you want to be. And guess what? That's okay. You just got to kind of look at that as, okay, well, it's a bump in the road. It's a challenge. You have to look at those things as challenges, right? Yeah, they suck. I got it, okay? Believe me, I was pretty happy when Bill offered me the group manager role. As soon as I found out what that really was, I wasn't that happy anymore, okay? So I inherited some circumstances that were absolutely beyond my control. But I didn't sit there and run away from it, right? I said, okay, well, now it's time to work, right? It's going to be hard. It's going to suck. But we're going to get there. We're going to do it because I had a positive mindset. The people I was surrounded by, which is very important as well, they had a positive mindset, and we together knew we were going to succeed. It'd take a little time, and Bill was very patient, providing a runway along those lines. But we had that right mindset, and you will have to have the same, when adversity comes. So the last thing, again, a little bit more coach speak here, right? It's choice. That was the other word I brought out earlier, right? And I want to call the illusion of choice, right? So go back to chart 4 there, the 5 people that preceded me in the leadership series, and you can look at those guys. They all come from different parts of the world. They have different upbringing. They started at different places. They all had a different definition of success, but they were all highly successful because, again, if you want to be good at something, you just have to do what it takes, right? You have to put work in to do that. And along the way, along your path, you have to make the right choices and decisions that'll put you in the best opportunity to meet your goals and to maximize your vision. General Fast did not wake up a general, okay? You know, she didn't wake up at 28 years old a general, right? She had a lot of experiences along the way and a lot of obstacles that she had to overcome that put her in position. At every single stop in the road, she excelled at. Every single position she had, she excelled at. And when she got out of the military, she got into industry, and she was a leader, and she excelled at that. And so that's a great example. All 5 of those, highly successful. They all have stories, you know. They're all approachable people for the most part. But you can ask people their story, and it's really good to hear, because I think it can put some perspective on kind of where you guys are, especially you guys that are aspiring leaders that are young and are looking to kind of move up. You see that big picture side of things. So I'll kind of break there for a second and I'll just say that this week I had an opportunity to listen to Barrett Jones speak here in Huntsville. And for those of you guys know who Barrett Jones is, he was part of Nick Saban's first recruiting class. He was an offensive lineman for University of Alabama and a 3-time All-American. And he was an All-American at 3 different positions on the offensive line. He won the Outland Trophy, won the Remington Award for the best center, and the academic Heisman as well. A very, very impressive young man. But he talked about, the thing that you always see. Everybody knows the yeah guy that used to be at Alabama, right? So the holding up the 4 fingers thing, right? But those mean something. Those 4 fingers mean something. And it's discipline, it's commitment, it's effort, it's toughness, and it's pride. The thumb is the pride. And because it's across everything you do, right? Well, discipline's the hardest part of that. But that's what that is, because it's driven into them through Nick Saban's process to be disciplined at everything they do. Now, I don't really expect you guys to walk around here at the end of the day holding up 4 fingers. Maybe at the end of a big proposal, I don't know, something like that may be pretty cool to do. But again, it goes back to you got to have a vision. You got to set up some system or some process to help you along that way. And you have to have a discipline to day in, day out, execute that and not get sidetracked when something bad happens. So now I'm going to have a little summary, right? I'm going to leave you with 4 things from a summary perspective. The first is go back to you have to take control of your career, okay? It is your responsibility to take control of that. Now, Jamie and her team, they have put together a fantastic infrastructure to help you guys along the way, right? The senior leaders at Radiance are really truthfully energized about helping you along the way. We have mentors in place. We have, open door policies for people to come talk. It's really a great environment for this, but you are the one that has to take the initiative to do that, and we're here to help you along the way of that. And then when we do help you, take advantage of those opportunities, right? You may be in a circumstance you don't want to be in, right? I may be sitting in Yuma for 6 weeks and not very happy about freezing one week and then melting the next. But it was a great opportunity for me to learn. We did a fantastic job over and over again. So circumstances may not have been great, but the opportunity was really great. And you guys will have to take advantage of those opportunities as well. And then, again, I cannot stress this more and more. It's on 3 or 4 different charts I have, right? You have to view these setbacks and obstacles as challenges, right? Sometimes it's really hard when you sit there and say, well, Johnny got a promotion and I didn't. Poor me, right? Or, Bo got a customer accolade, but I didn't get one. I was there too, but, they call him out. Why didn't they call me out? That's circumstantial stuff, right? You can't control any of that. All right? You do the best job you can do. Trust me, it will get noticed, and trust me, you will be rewarded for it somewhere down the line. Okay, promise you there. So anyway, take those setbacks as a challenge to you. Okay, and then the last thing is communicate. Okay, communicate. Right? Can't say that enough. Right? Now we are not mind readers. Right? As much as I would love to have that ability, I can't do it. I tried. It doesn't work. So if you come to me and say, well, I think I want to go somewhere else because, they're going to let me be a team lead. Well, I didn't know you wanted to be a team lead. Did you let anybody know you wanted to be a team lead? Did you let anybody know you wanted to become a project manager? If you didn't, really, that's not really your supervisor's fault. It's not your mentor's fault, your senior leader's fault. It's your fault, right? So you have to start that dialogue. We're here to have that conversation and to work with you and give you those opportunities. But we've got to know about it in order for us to really help you out with it. So that's it. I think that's really all I have. I think the next thing is questions. I didn't put Q&A on here. I did it on purpose, right? So I'm not guaranteeing an answer. You can ask questions, and I think Paige will answer most of those for you. But that's all I have. I really do appreciate you guys taking time out of your day. Those that are here for sure, those that are virtual, taking time out of your day to listen to me talk. Again, just a simple country boy from central Alabama. So if there's any questions, please let me know. So far, so good. Like this. Do we do a countdown on this? Because I'm ready to sit down.
There is no Jeopardy music for you. So Tim, if I'll start with a question.
Thanks, Sam.
You're welcome. For individuals who maybe want to transition from a technical role into a managerial role, what development opportunities would you recommend for those folks?
It kind of, again, I'll go back to the whole. I'm not going to answer a question with a question. Okay, I'm not going to do the politics thing. But I would say the first step, of course, is the dialogue. You have to let your leadership know you want to do that, and then you have to give some context to it, right? So I just don't want to be an engineer anymore. I want to do something different. Lots of things to do, But if you come in and say, I really want to have an opportunity to do some project management. I think it's something that I'm really interested in. I want to do that. Well, we can help shape, a pathway for you there. Whether it's again a certification like a PMP to kind of understand more of a global aspect of being a project manager, or it's opportunities that we're able to give you at a lower level, a sub element on a project, and so you can get some exposure to things like budgeting, scheduling, cost control. Those kind of things. So we can do that, and that's we have to know about it. And there are plenty of opportunities here at Radiance to do that. I'm one of many examples of people having those opportunities. So, but yeah, I would start with a conversation with your supervisor or your group manager, and then and moving on from there.
I have a question.
Yes.
First of all, thank you for taking the time to do this and invest in young, aspiring leaders. And I appreciate you breaking down the importance of setting a vision. But would you mind sharing what is your vision that drives you, your why?
Sure. Yeah. That's that's highly personal. I can't talk about that. No. It's one thing. It's changed, right? You look at I put that little windy road on that one chart because if you would have asked me when I was 28 starting at Radiance. I don't know. I want to be the best engineer I could be. I don't know. That's I want to get this widget out. I want to that would be my very near term thing because I really didn't know what I was doing. But I think for me now, I really my vision for myself now is to continue growing in this industry. I'm still learning, right? We're all learning. I'm still learning, and I'm learning how to be an executive leader within this whole industry, right? And I think I want to continue along that path, whether it's more opportunities that Radiance are giving me, or it's starting your own business, things like that. I mean, those are all things that are out there that there'll be certain gates in my career, in my path that may take me down one or the other. But I don't have any vision of leaving Radiance. I have a vision continuing on here. However, I can help the organization, however Bill and crew decide that I can add some value. That's kind of where I'm at this point. So. Jamie, you opened it up. Why would you do that?
Yeah, I have a question as well.
Sure.
So certainly, doing such a 180 career change for you, or several,
Sure.
has got to be stressful. I guess my question would be, how do you know that you're ready to make such a big change, or when do you know that that is a point in your life when you don't want to continue doing what you're doing?
That's a really good question, actually. So I don't know that you know, right? You know, you just have to have confidence in yourself that, you know, you can do it. And you know, I think it's part of that process of knowing. You know, you don't know what you don't know, right? So sometimes ignorance is a big key of that. But I think it's, you'll know at some point where that you want to do something a little different than what you're doing now. Whether you've been in a job for a long period of time and it's kind of gotten a little stale for you, it's just not challenging anymore. You'll know that you're up for the next challenge. It may not be like, you leave one industry and go to the next, or, it may not be that drastic, but you'll know. I mean, that's you'll know inside of you, and that's one of those things that you kind of don't know if you're ready for it until you try it. And just take it as a challenge. So.
We have a question online. In your personal experience, what has been one of the most helpful steps you've taken toward cultivating a strong sense of discipline?
Well, that's a good question. So I'm trying to think of a single step that I took. Part of it for me was growing up the way I kind of grew up, with a structure in the family that, it was very process driven. My dad being who he was, who he is. I kind of had that instilled in me. Now, of course, I was a normal teenager, right? So I didn't listen, so a little bit of hindsight. But I'd say the understanding how to handle time management was the single most important thing that I've ever done. When I went to college, I thought I was smart. I made a really high ACT score, had really good grades in high school, but I got to college and I'm like, oh man, I'm a number, and I really don't know how to study. I don't know how to be organized. I don't know how to manage my time, and it took a little bit of time to do that. But really getting a handle on being able to manage. You guys remember the little chicken that was juggling all the eggs in one of the charts, right? That, becoming organized and looking at my day as a project. I got a beginning and I got an end, and trying to maximize my time throughout that day was probably the single biggest thing that I was able to do to move along and try to obtain my goals. So.
Okay, we have another online question. It's a two-part question.
Oh, great.
First off, who is your all-time favorite Alabama quarterback?
Very nice.
And second, what do you do to inspire the people around you and help them reach their potential?
Okay, I'll do the politician thing. I'll answer the second part first. I think for me, it really is just trying to force that dialogue. It's really, really hard for engineers, for sure, young people in general, to have, to start that dialogue, right? To start the conversation, start the conversation about, what do you want to do when you grow up, and how can I help? What do you like? What you don't like? That's what I try to do. I try to, be there for people and try to be as good a mentor as I can be, right? I'm not sure how effective it is, but at least I try. So I think that's what I try to do, and it is very important for me to want to, and I think the guys that work for me and work with me, I think they know that. I really do care about their success and seeing them, grow into roles. Like Ethan was talking about, sometimes you're very unsure about whether or not you're doing a good job, and everybody wants to do a good job. So a lot of positive feedback and course correction where it's needed. But that's what I try to do, every day. And then let's see. Okay, so first part of that was, who's my favorite Alabama quarterback? Man, that's a tough one. I would probably say, somebody said Shula. That's not a true statement. I'm probably going to go with A.J. McCarron. I think A.J. McCarron is probably, he's my son's favorite quarterback, and I think he's probably A.J. You know, A.J. was that hotshot quarterback coming in, had to sit on the bench and wait his turn, you know, while Greg McElroy was there for his last season. And although, you know, A.J., in my opinion, was far more talented than McElroy, he still had to pay his dues and know his role as a backup and run the scout team, you know, in practice. He had to do that before he was able to you know, to move into that starting position. And I think that's probably why I like him. Of course, he won a couple national championships. That's pretty nice too. So I'll go with that. So.
Hey, Tim. So as you get further along in your career, your tasks get more and more abstract. What's the process that you take to minimize the uncertainty and to maximize your success?
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, you know, especially moving into a role that Radiance has never had before, right? You know, moving into a sector role that we've never had before is, you know, there was not a defined set of job responsibilities and what you do, you know, every day and every month and every quarter. You know, I think it goes back to that organizational skills thing. You really have to, I look at things, yes, my mindset. I look at things like projects, right? You have a beginning and an end. And from a portfolio standpoint, you have lots of little projects that are going on. And it's very important to define those and lay those out and status those routinely on where you are. And then ultimately surround yourself with some really good people, right? Because, I mean, there's not a single one of us around here that can do, you know, do everything. You know, I put that little Superman thing up there as kind of a joke because, you know, none of us are Superman, right? But you really do have to surround yourself with some really good people. You have to have a structure, and you know you have these things laid out as little mini projects, and status those as you go along. I think that's, and then at the end, communication. You know, when something does get derailed and move off track, or is not going the way it's supposed to, you have to address it. You have to address it head on. You have to address it as immediate as you can, and go from there. So just try to be somebody that's trustworthy.
Tim Tinsley, thank you so much for your wisdom today. We are
Pleasure being here.
deeply appreciative of it. And thank you all for your attendance. Thank you for learning with us. If you did not get a chance to sign in, please do so. Have a wonderful rest of your day.